You ready to do this, Stu?
I am ready. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Stu Jones.
Howdy, howdy.
We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 102. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Stu, it's been another week. Welcome back into the Fortress of Nerditude. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. Pretty normal-sized week. Lots of work, lots of play. So yeah, week number 3 of Ellie surviving the podcast. So hooray. Let's keep that record just rolling through, shall we?
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's see. Got Mo's first report card this year. It felt like it took 3 or 4 more months longer than usual to get the first report card, but really it's only November, so. But she's doing aces. Last year she had some social responsibility problems, we'll call them.
Talking too much.
Popular kid in the class, getting attention. It's a pretty nasty recipe for being distracted and distracting a lot of other people. Started off this year kind of the same, but I don't know. I think I mentioned it prior on the podcast that she's just got this wave of responsibility going right now. Like she sees things that just need to be done and she just walks over and puts the glasses away or grabs dishes or napkins for dinner and just does stuff. No thought, no trying to impress anybody, just doing this stuff. And
wow.
I got a couple emails earlier in the year from her new teacher with, sentiments echoing her end of year, last year stuff. And the emails have faded away. And we've got a parent-teacher conference coming up this week.
Yep.
Yeah, mine's on Wednesday. When's yours?
Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Mine's at Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So we'll be in different sides of the school and we won't see each other.
Right, exactly.
But so I mean, she's doing great, but academically, she's perfect marks across the board. I don't know. She's just got this. Everything that's going on right now is really, really positive.
You look like you've got that proud papa feeling going on right now.
I do, and it has nothing to do with what I just talked about. What it has to do with is, as you may know, you and I went and saw Bohemian Rhapsody, which we'll talk about in a couple weeks, and I think we'll have a movie club about that.
Yep.
But I've been on a Queen music kick lately, and that's been my number one Spotify playlist. And I've brought Morgana into the fold, and so now we go on little trips as we do day to day. Go into the corner store to get a gallon of milk or whatever, and that immediately comes on, and her feet is just stomping, boom, boom, clap, boom, and we just go into that every time. And then she knows like the lyrics to "We Are the Champions." Into Radio Gaga. But like the "We Will Rock You" is just kind of our anthem at the moment, and that's pretty boss.
Nice.
Heck yeah. And then I did not go anywhere traveling this weekend, so not completely exhausted, but a lot of good time hanging out with Ellie online and stuff, and work. We're getting ready to wrap up a testing phase of the major project I've been working on since January of this year. Finally kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, which means a lot of hard work for me and my team right now. And everyone's putting forth everything they got and working all the hours, and looking forward to putting that to bed. It's weird to say that one single project has actually been a milestone of my life, but it's been almost an entire year. It will be over an entire year when we wrap it up. And
wow.
I'm kind of ready to be done.
Yeah, I bet you are.
But otherwise, I mean, just stuff as usual. Things have just been nicely calm.
That's good. Sometimes you need that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And of course, I'm sure I'll remember something that I should have remembered a little while ago. But whatever. Nothing else of consequence.
We're getting older. I mean, come on. We can't remember everything, right?
Who's getting old?
Someone. I don't know.
Poor guy.
It's a thing. I hear it. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start you with the lows, and I'm going to finish off on the highs.
Okay. Well, the high note will be killing boffins, but okay.
Sure, as it always is. As it always is.
Pew, pew,
I don't
pew,
know
pew,
why.
pew.
Yeah, it sounded a little. Anyway.
Very Han Solo-y.
A little walk in there.
Hey.
So.
I've got a fever.
So Halloween happened, and.
Oh, yeah, Halloween happened.
We which is interesting because I got the podcast all edited, and we dropped the podcast a day early last week, so it actually hit on Halloween.
Yes.
Which was a Herculean effort. I'm glad that I was able to make it happen because it was just kind of fun to do that and have it be a little special treat and put it out there for all of our super friends. But here's the problem with Halloween. I have been diligent on keeping candy and junk out of the house. Now
we may need to revisit my Halloween here, but go ahead.
Now we have pounds and pounds and pounds of it in the house because the boys had done a couple trunk or treats, and when we went trick or treating, two things happened. One, these boys trick-or-treated for 2 hours. They would not stop. They just kept going. Like, it got to the point where Jackson was having such a hard time. Like, he would take a big step up onto the next step of a porch. Then he would lift the bag onto the porch. Then take a step, then lift the bag onto the next one. I was like, dude. I'm like, do you want me to help you? And he's like, no, Daddy. Like,
you didn't take a spare pillow?
No,
pillowcase?
We should have, and I thought about it later. I was like, yeah, we need that. Because last year, we still were using kind of the stroller a little bit to help. And so I had a spare bag then, and I'd dump out their candy so I could keep the bag light. We didn't have that this year, so they had to tough it out, which is good for them anyway. They need to learn that if you're gonna, get the spoils and loot all the houses, you gotta deal with your loot sack, and Anyway, so they had all this candy. The second thing, I forgot to put our candy bowl out, because both Brita and I walked around for 2 hours with the boys. So the 2 big bags of Costco candy we bought, plus all the candy they got, started sitting around the house. And I broke down and had some candy. Every freaking day for like 4 days. And not just like a couple pieces. It was like, oh, it started out as a couple. Then I'm like, oh, this looks good. I haven't had this in like a year. Then it was this. Then it was this. And so it was like 15 to 20 pieces of candy every day.
You are not agonizing alone there, my friend.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm not the only parent that goes through this, and I'm sure. But for me, like every single time I'd start eating it, like the regret would immediately kick in. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I'm doing so good this year. Why am I? And so, yesterday was Sunday. We're recording on Monday. Sunday night, I was like, I'm done. I'm not having any more sugar. I haven't had any today. After we record the podcast, I'm going to go straight to bed, basically. And so today's day one again without the sugar. I'm, going to just, I'm done. Like, no, it was low. My weight is up a little bit, but that could also be attributed to the fact that I was doing some weightlifting over the last few days. And, my diet was just a little off. So more carbs and sugar and everything's kind of in flux, but I'm back at it. Today was a good day. So here's the highlights, though, of today. Did all my walking, came home. I started my Couch to 5K jogging program again. You remember I started that a while back, and then I injured my groin in an unrelated yard work incident. Apparently, you can't use your groin to push a lawnmower. I didn't know this. Stupid tripping over that.
There's nothing more I can say without hitting the mature rating on iTunes.
I understand. I know. It's prime comedic opportunities that you have to let go. So anyway, so I got on the treadmill tonight and I jogged. I started the Couch to 5K over at the beginning and I did that. And it went pretty smoothly. It was good. The boys tonight went to their very first swimming lesson.
Ooh.
And so took them over to the Clearfield Aquatic Center, and they got to do some swimming. And it was kind of interesting because when I grew up, man, like swimming was in the summer, and you took lessons in the summer because there was no indoor pools where I lived. But this indoor pool thing, man, they're learning to swim in the middle of November. Like, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, actually, the Clearfield Aquatic Center is actually pretty well set up. I like it.
Yeah.
They've got a good gym in there, too.
So I could only see it because I kind of felt like I had to be there and watch the boys, and they're giving me little thumbs up and waving at me from where they're at. And but I'm not going to go on Wednesday. Mom's going to take them because I've got to go to Charlie's school for parent-teacher conferences. Mm-hmm. And we found out that, like, Charlie's a lot like me. He also gets kind of marked down for the constant talking and the attention-seeking and the fact that, you know, he just is a busy little bee. But he's a really, really smart kid, and so I'm fully anticipating that I'm going to hear, well, he does really, really good, except during rug time in kindergarten where he's supposed to listen and be quiet. He just continues to talk and to, you know, tell people stuff. So he's also a kindergartner, so I mean, I'm going to let some of that, you know, slide. But the boys got on a big Mario Kart kick this weekend. And so for some reason, they're like, Daddy, can we play Mario Kart? I'm like, yeah, buddy, but let me set it up and you guys just play. Because I really didn't want to play Mario Kart because I was trying to do a lot of stuff. And the boys got on it and they played, and then they would figure out how to like go to the next race. And then like when it was all done and they did their little Grand Prix, how to go back and start it over again and pick new vehicles. And so I got some little Mario Karters going on up in this house right now.
I'll take them both down.
I'm sure you will. They're doing the 50cc. It's got like basically like the little bumper thing on so you can't go off the track.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Charlie tries to steer, but he continues to oversteer all the time. It just kind of zigzags. And like he'll get up into like second place or first place, and then he like zigzags and like 3 cars pass him like right at the very end. Whereas Jackson basically just holds down the gas and never steers and can still take first place.
That's how I win every time, buddy.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just awesome. So anyway, so like coming into the podcast tonight, I'm doing really well, but man, that old candy train after Halloween kind of had me feeling low, but I did my exercising tonight, and I did some lifting and some jogging, and I walked a bunch today, so I'm feeling really good. I feel like I could, take the ears off of Gundark.
Well, all right then. So yeah, to go back to the Halloween, I think one of my problems is that we do this on a Monday, which means as old as I am, I can remember Sunday.
Yeah. And
that's about it. But Halloween did happen. Morgana went out, same neighborhood. Amber came up and went trick-or-treating with us. And so we both went trick-or-treating with Morgana at the same time. So the Bolt did not go out here either.
Yeah.
Morgana's kind of a pro at trick-or-treating now. And there was like this little kid that was in a very classic ghost costume. Uh-huh. Apparently through the stories that we got, they showed him a whole bunch of different pictures of ghosts for costumes, and he picked the classic sheet as a ghost. Wow. So anyway, Morgana made a friend, and they were kind of like hitting some of the same houses we were, and then the kids started talking, and so we just kind of went for like a couple neighborhoods with them. And
fun.
Oh yeah, so she's leading him around and everything. I did take a pillowcase. That pillowcase was half full by the time we were done.
Wow.
And we go out a little bit later, and by the time we're done trick-or-treating, it's handfuls go into the bag to get rid of what's remaining of the candy.
Yes.
That's a big thing around here. People overbuy a lot of candy, apparently, because like by the end of the night, just 1-2 handfuls of candy, and so she makes out like a bandit more in that last half hour than the rest of the night. So yeah, all that candy came home. My problem isn't so much that I've done so good and I'm falling off the wagon. It's that I'm trying to get a good benchmark to start from in the first place.
Yeah.
Ellie is a healthier eater. She definitely eats a lot of veggies and that kind of stuff, and so that influence has been really good for me, especially when I'm hanging out with her. And I'm going to be going to Tennessee for a week and a half here coming up. For
Fort Knoxville
for the Thanksgiving holiday and some other stuff. So I'm really hoping I can kind of get a strong baseline from that. We're going to cheat a little bit as far as diet goes. There's like a pizza place we're going to try to hit up and things like that. But for the most part, like a lot of curry, and she does a lot of fresh vegetables and chicken and stuff like that. So
Cool.
I'm hoping that helps, because I definitely would like to be with someone who can influence me in that way, because my problem isn't so much that I want to do good. It's that if there's a box of donuts sitting on the counter, there's an empty box of donuts sitting on the counter.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to eliminate it from the house. Like, that's step one.
Yeah, so a gigantic overfilled bowl of Halloween candy, not so good.
So this is what I did with the boys. I told them on Sunday night, I said, boys, I've got to go run and do something here real quick. I said, your mom's going to help you pick out some candy to save. And when I come back, I'm going to make the rest of the candy go away. And so literally, they picked out the candy they wanted. They put it in baggies each. And then I took the rest of the candy when no one was looking, and I dumped it in the trash, and I took the trash out to the barrel. And that's it. It's gone. It's in the trash, and it's out of the house. I know. I got that look from someone else I told I was going to do that. Like, you're throwing away candy? It's like, yes, because otherwise I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to backslide. I'm going to get off my diet, and I want to be healthy, and my wife wants to be healthy, and I want my kids to be healthy, so I'm just throwing that crap out.
I really have the urge to argue the merits of wasted, product that has a cost behind it. But at the same time, also, I kind of want to just do that.
Yeah, man, it's liberating. Like, because when it was sitting there in the bowl, even if I wasn't hungry, because I'd had enough sugar, in the last few days, like, all of a sudden I'd get like a little sugar craving, and then I'm like looking over at that bowl. I'm like, I can just go I can have a couple. But now, like, it's not in the house. So, like, I don't have that. Like, if I have a sugar craving, it's like, oh, I want some. I got nothing. Never mind. Let's drink some water.
The funny thing is, though, is even though I've eaten a lot of candy, I've also eaten a lot more celery than I have in the past, because I
try to balance it.
No, those rare moments why I'm able to resist the candy urge and go, no candy, eat celery. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I need to get better at that. My biggest thing is diet. Like, I don't know why I'm blessed genetically that despite everything I've done wrong to my body, my heart is in great condition. Great, not just okay, it's great. My lungs great even after smoking for 23 years. And yet I'm taking all that for granted by sitting on my butt and not eating healthy. So,
right.
So yeah, but improvements here and there, I guess, and hopefully something will kick around. The holidays are the worst for everybody, though.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving's coming up. Oh man.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of why, like, for me, like the Thanksgiving thing, like for me, like there's not a lot of desserts at Thanksgiving, and that's where I really fall down is desserts.
But there's mashed potatoes and potato salad, and
yeah, but I can have a bite or two of that just to get the taste of it, and I can be okay, because carbs like that for me, they just don't have that super hold on me right now anymore. But it's the sugar stuff, like we typically go to Costco and get one of those like lattice apple pies that are like, I think, laced with cocaine, because like you can't have just one bite, you have to like eat like half a pie.
I snort my apple pie.
Yeah, you're just twitching for it, man. We usually get one of those, and like we get a pumpkin. And like, I used to love pumpkin pie, but like now it's just like I have a bite or two, I'm like, And so even before I started kind of getting healthier, but it's that apple pie that's going to be the hard thing. So I'm trying to make sure I'm back on the wagon as best as I can. But Christmas, man, Christmas cookies, ooh, like that's what I've got to. Fudge, bark. I mean, I got to stay away from all that. So I've got to be locked in, and I got to be super solid come Christmas time.
Well,
yeah.
My famous recipe is loaded baked potato salad. It's kind of like you take a baked potato with, bacon and sour cream and cheese and onions and everything on it. Take that concept and make it into a potato salad.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be... I've already promised to make it, so how do I make that and not eat a whole bunch of it?
So that's the thing. Don't make a lot of it.
Well, there's going to be people there. It's
not
me that I'm making it for.
True. How many people do you say?
Ellie's family. I don't know.
Like 15, 20 people?
What? This is losing relevance, sir.
I'm just saying, if you, like, let's say, like, normally if you were to make like a 9
there's
by
a quantity
13
of
pan,
it being made.
Right. Let's say like if you're normally gonna make like a 9x13 pan, make like an 8x8 pan of it, so there'll be less of it.
Well, I don't want to short everybody of it.
Everyone gets a little bit so they get a taste, but there's gonna be lots of other food there.
That's rude.
I'm just trying to help you out, man.
That's rude. That's like promising to make a pork chop pizza.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, that's right. That's my go-to. That's all I got. I mean, you've got the whole Ellie voicemail thing on a usual basis, and I've got nothing.
I'm going to make you a pork chop pizza, and then I'm not going to have to hear the end of this. Ever again. Ever.
And then watch it be like the most disgusting thing ever.
You know what? That's probably what it will be.
I doubt it.
Here's a pizza with a big old fat pork chop right on the top.
Oh, hey.
Bon appetit.
Yeah, okay.
You jerk.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right. That's the thing is you can make less, or just the other thing is limit yourself and say, I'm only going to have a little bit of everything, so you don't take a lot of just one thing, you know?
Oh, I do a lot of everything.
Go a lot of the turkey, because that's protein, and that's good for you.
It's true.
So go heavier on the turkey, heavier on the turkey. Yeah. Thanksgiving's pretty bad. It's a lot of carbs.
Well, there's always
protein.
deviled eggs.
Oh, I love good deviled eggs.
Those are pretty low carb, sir.
Yeah, it's actually there's not a lot.
As long as you don't use like Miracle Whip and stuff.
That's just a lot of fat, though.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay.
Deviled eggs and turkey. Load up on that. I'm sure you'll be the life of the party.
Hoarding of the tray of deviled eggs. Mine. It's for my diet.
I was thinking more of the after effects, but sure.
Ellie is the one who gets to deal with that.
What was that, Stu? Oh, okay. You're making thunder noises over there. Got it.
Growling.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a great big gigantic bowl of Halloween candy and kill the Bothans with that. Does she got anything else?
No, man. Let's move on. Let's kill them Bothans.
Pew 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 pew.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Stu. Rebel Intelligence, what do you got for me this week?
Well, so BlizzCon was last weekend, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit more. But I don't know if you know, so, the flagship, of course, being World of Warcraft, typical RPG formula. You're going to kill some monsters, you're going to gain some experience, you're going to level up, you're going to hit endgame, and you're going to do some raids. Like I would say, just as a wild guess, about 8 years ago, World of Warcraft introduced basically that you can earn regular character XP for mining and for picking herbs and all those little things that you do throughout the game for your crafting professions give you actual real experience points.
Right.
So put that idea in your pocket. Also, there was an expansion for World of Warcraft for Mists of Pandaria. With that expansion, we were introduced to the Pandarians, panda people that, the gist of it being that they're caught in the middle of the war between Alliance and Horde. So your character actually starts on a neutral island, neither Alliance nor Horde. You go through the quest line, and then at the end of that quest line at about level 10, you then choose whether your character is going to be Alliance or Horde, and then from that point on forever, you are Alliance or Horde. You start off as your standard character class and things like that. So, this island that you start on has a lot of herbs and has some mining nodes. Problem is that the amount of experience you get with that is barely significant as a level 1 character. As most experience scales go, the higher level you are, the more experience it takes to get to the next.
Right.
So combine these three ideas that you have herbs that you can pick, that you always get experience for, no matter what level you are. It's just only relevant at really low levels. That you're a neutral character that is neither chosen Alliance nor Horde, and that you don't really even have to leave the island until you absolutely need to. Most people are excited to get the heck off that island, go actually earn some real experience, go in dungeons, all that kind of stuff. There is a character. Let's see. I just had that. Sorry, but so there's a character, Double Agent. He is World of Warcraft's first and only neutral player. This guy started on the island and decided he never wanted to pick Alliance or Horde, nor did he ever want to kill any enemies. So he has been on this island since the very beginning of Mists of Pandaria, doing nothing but picking herbs and mining nodes. Every expansion that comes out, he goes back to the island, does that forever until he reaches max level. And keep in mind the amount of time that it would take. This current block is level 110 to 120.
Right.
He has gone through and he has finally hit level 120, never having killed a single thing.
Okay, let me ask you then. Mm-hmm. Because I know when you started Battle for Azeroth, you did a thing where you did some training on the ship, and then you kind of went down and you had to do kind of like a mission where you're just kind of going through and kind of helping kind of the scourging of Lordaeron, right? Kind of there's this big battle. Mm-hmm. You have to participate in that thing in order for the storyline to progress.
In order for the storyline to progress. You could theoretically never take that quest as a regular character at level 110. You could theoretically never progress the storyline, go around in the End of Legion stuff, do any quests there, kill a whole bunch of mobs there, whatever, and you could still get to level 120. You just would never do any of the Battle for Azeroth content.
So you're saying that this person, in order to hit 120, purchased Battle for Azeroth.
Yes.
And then ignored it, basically.
Yes.
To go right back to his dang little island to continue picking flowers.
Yep, and I guess his method for madness is that he goes through and he does nothing for any of his characters or anything until that character's max for the expansion, and then plays other characters regularly and never touches that character again until the next expansion comes out.
Okay, my question is this. Why? Why?
Why not?
I mean, I get maybe doing that for a little while and maybe trying to stay neutral. Okay. So maybe I get the idea of like, okay, the game's wanting to force me to choose one side or the other. I'm going to see if I can kind of juke the system to stay neutral. I kind of get that. But is there something, because I didn't play that expansion years ago and I haven't picked a panda, so I haven't gone through those 10 levels and then had to decide. If he were to go into a normal realm and like attack one side or the other,
you can't leave that island.
Okay.
Until you make your choice for Alliance or Horde.
Okay, so he can't even leave the island, period.
Correct.
So he purchases BFA, and then basically does a little, hey, let's train you, blah, blah, blah. But then you haven't picked, so it's going to drop you back? Or it's not even going to let him go on to the, hey, go do the little training on the thing, let's progress the story. It's just, hey, you have this, but yet you still can't leave. You're still stuck on the island.
No, it won't offer any other quests as far as any expansion lead-ins, breadcrumbs, nothing. So until he makes that choice, he is absolutely stuck doing that content, which, I mean, it would be easy for him just to go, bling, okay, I'm Alliance, and then dive right into whatever the current content is. But yeah, so he wants to keep it a pacifist character. At this point, nothing in the zone is going to aggro on him. So he just freely goes around and picks all these herbs and gets all this ore, which the one thing that I'm more curious about that I don't see in anything related to this guy is what he does with all that ore.
Yeah.
Like, because you can't mail anything to anybody until you pick Alliance or Horde. There's no auction house.
Maybe he just sells it to the vendors.
Maybe, because that's a lot of ore and herbs to be just wasting. Took him 77 days of playing that character, like several hours a day to be able to get to level 120, picking all those herbs and everything else.
Huh. Well, to each his own, I guess. I don't think that I would waste my time doing that, but
I wouldn't have the patience to do it, and most people wouldn't, which is why he's the only person who's done this.
Right.
But there are other pacifist characters that have some blogs and stuff like that. None of them have had the dedication that this guy has, but they've definitely watched him, followed in his footsteps kind of thing. To me, it's that path untraveled to do something out of the norm to buck the system, and still be able to have some fun doing it. So if he's having fun doing this, then great. I would think he would have to, because there's no benefit whatsoever. There's no new gear. There's no extra experience. There's no reward for him to do this other than to say, I'm the guy that did this and I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
but I mean, that's a huge milestone for someone who's not done a single thing but picking herbs and getting all the ore.
good for Double Agent, I guess. More power to you for your dedication. Yeah, I couldn't do that. Let's move on. So I'm almost caught up on The Flash. We finished the 4th season on Netflix, and we've now started the 5th season on the old Comcast. I think we got 2 more to watch, and then we're completely caught up.
Okay.
But there's something interesting I noticed in the first episode of this season. Jesse L. Martin, who plays Detective Joe West, who is Iris's dad, and also kind of like the adopted father of Barry Allen.
Right.
He basically wasn't in the first episode until like the very, very end, and then he was sitting down in a seat, and it was just like, this is kind of odd. I was like, that's kind of weird. Well, then apparently the news broke tail end of last week, and I saw this, and I had to kind of like avoid it a little bit until I kind of saw the first episode. Apparently, the actor Jesse L. Martin had some sort of back injury during the hiatus, and so he can't really do much. And so basically, they're just sitting him down at a desk, or sitting him down on a couch, or at the house or something. And basically, he's just kind of being seated, and so he's not able to do much. And so, sadly, he's actually going to take a break from the show. There's most of the rest of the season, probably, to basically go and to get the help that he needs and get healthy and rehab. And then hopefully he's able to come back before the end of the season, if not next season. I saw this, and I kind of feel bad. Like, right, so if you're a working actor and your job is to go and, move from point A to point B, to hit your blocking, hit your marks, be able to deliver your lines, having some sort of like a big back injury like this would be bad if you were a movie actor and in a film, because you may have to drop out of a film.
Right.
Or, the film maybe, film stuff around you and, whatever. Maybe gets put on hiatus if you're like the big lead. But on a TV show like this, and this actor, Jesse Martin, it's a weekly thing. Like, he's got to be there and show up every week after week after week. So, like, it effectively takes his whole character pretty much off of TV for a whole season. Like, that's kind of tough. I mean, because you got to find ways, to write around him, explain his absence, in his story.
And he's a major character for the show.
He is a major character. I mean, he's kind of like the moral center of the show in a lot of respects. So, man, I just feel bad for the actor, that he got hurt, but that also, he's going to be sidelined, and he's not going to be able to participate in something, that he's integral in.
Well, I wish him a speedy recovery. I mean, I love his character, and he's such a phenomenal actor and a phenomenal performer in general. And I've loved, his participation in The Flash. I haven't caught up to the last season, but I couldn't imagine the show without him in it. So this is definitely going to be a void for the season.
Yeah, I also know he's a Broadway actor, and so he's done a bunch of stuff there too. So
and singer.
Yep. Yeah, he's got some chops. So anyway, we hope he gets a speedy recovery, and Detective Joe West returns to us soon.
Yep. Well, that's sad. I really need to kind of catch up on that. I'm still living the life of feeling like if I don't watch all of the Arrowverse shows, that I'm missing out on something because of the crossover stuff that they do. But I just really can't stand Arrow anymore. Which is sad, because that started off strong, and that was like my favorite comic show ever. But ugh. So I feel like I have a penance of having to watch Arrow to be able to stay current on the Flash, and that's just horrible. So eventually I'm going to break away and just care about the Flash and nothing else. And
yeah, we've kind of stopped watching the Arrow as well.
yeah. Oh, well. Well, in more exciting news, Alec Baldwin was arrested recently.
Ooh, really?
Pending charges of assault. Basically, allegedly got into a confrontation with someone, punched him over a parking spot, supposedly.
Oh, of course, as you always do.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how you handle those kind of situations, especially when you're a B-list actor these days and get some attention. I mean, he's got some good stuff, but he's, I think his leading man days. But he refutes this and has taken to Twitter to dispute that he ever punched anybody over parking. I wanted to go on record stating, normally I would not comment on something as egregiously misstated as today's story. However, the assertion that I punched anyone over a parking spot is false. I realize that it has become a sport to tag people with as many negative charges and defaming allegations as possible for the purposes of clickbait entertainment. So something I kind of take out of that is, the hypersensitivity of accusing people of, like sexual assault and things like that, and trying to ride that to as a defense for punching someone over a parking spot.
Yeah.
Or rather, that he's saying that something actually did happen, but punching wasn't part of the equation or something. We know historically that Alec Baldwin does have a tendency for violence.
He has a temper issue, sure.
Yes, he does. And he's gotten in trouble for punching somebody before. He's had disorderly conduct, riding a bike the wrong way up Fifth Avenue in New York. But then being completely belligerent about it. There is definitely an untouchable syndrome. So I don't know. It kind of, in the days where we're trying to keep honest, honorable actors working and still be able to take dishonest ones seriously in allegations of sexual misconduct and things like that, where that's really the big war over morale issues. We get Alec Baldwin, punching somebody over parking spots, and I'm kind of glad for normal news of something like that.
Right.
Alec Baldwin flies off the handle, and yes, no social justice warrior behind that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is just like, I get that you've got a temper issue, but it's like, man, punching someone over a parking spot? Like, that just seems so... I can't ever see myself getting that angry about a parking spot.
It seems so Black Friday Walmart. Yeah.
I mean, it just seems kind of trashy.
Yeah, well, we've seen more trashy stuff from him in the past. But
Sure, admittedly so, but it seems like, he's still a big name. I mean, he's currently doing all the stuff on SNL, portraying President Trump. He's also been in, like, the Mission Impossible movies recently. Like, he's still kind of a big name and, commands a paycheck, but sure. I mean, dude, like, come on.
I don't know.
Really?
Maybe it gives him something to talk about on a talk show.
I guess. Well.
Super newsworthy, I know, but
yeah.
I'm excited to report.
Speaking of punching and probably kicking and running people through with a sword.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Right. Game of Thrones, when it comes back, when it finally eventually comes back, it's going to have a big battle. And by big battle, I'm really kind of underselling it here. Apparently, it's been leaked that there's going to be basically a whole episode that's going to be one single battle, the entire episode. And they're saying that this is basically going to be like the biggest, most sustained action sequence ever in television or film. It's going to be directed by the same guy that did the episode Battle of the Bastards from like the previous season. Mm-hmm. And if you've watched this show, or if you even haven't watched this show, this battle is going to be the thing that was hinted at the very beginning of the books and at the very beginning of the TV show. I'm not going to say it in case you haven't watched it or you are going to and you're behind or you're a few seasons behind and you haven't figured it out, because there are things that have happened. Right. But there's a big battle coming. 2 big armies are going to go at it. And it's going to be a massive epic throwdown. And it has to happen because, I mean, this has been pretty much teased since the beginning of it all. And apparently it's going to be a massive. Now, I hear this, Stu, and I'm thinking, okay, like, you know, that sounds cool. But apparently, like, they filmed something like 55 days. and then basically they said, well, wait a minute. That's not exactly completely true. We filmed 55 nights. That was only for the battle's outdoor scenes. Then we went back inside the studios and shot for weeks after that.
Nice.
So, I mean, we're talking like probably like 3 months of shooting just for a single episode, for a single battle.
So the thing for me is, in cinema, mass scale battles really kind of lose my interest, especially the longer they go on. You have a couple key moments that, you know, propel the narration forward, but, you know, tons of people swinging swords and clanking at each other really just becomes noise at a certain point.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, and I want to say the Battle of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings movies. A lot of that was CGI, and I know that we're looking at live action stuff here coming up for Game of Thrones. But even that battle was just kind of, there were a few shining moments. Most of it was like, okay, get to the next part. But Battle of the Bastards, I was losing faith in Game of Thrones last season until that episode. That battle, the cinematography, the choreography, all of that battle, I just had my jaw hung open the whole time. It was brutal. It was bloody. It was the story itself at that point. That thing was glorious. So to know that the same director for that is coming back, I'm actually really kind of excited for this, especially knowing, you know, what it is as far as the pivotal plot moment that this is foretelling.
Right. Now, they did say, because, and I think this was telling, because this was in the Entertainment Weekly article, they did talk about how basically they're going to have moments where they're going to kind of do some intercuts, where they're going to show kind of the characters and kind of show their own like survival storylines, so that they're going to have a way to kind of make it feel like, even though it's one big huge battle and everyone's kind of fighting in the same battle, everyone's going to kind of have their own story, and they're going to show things like how the battle is affecting this person, or how it's, you know, what's going on with this person. So it's not just clank, you know, swing swords and, you know, knock into one another. So hopefully, if it's shot like the Battle of the Bastards was, and it's got kind of that in it, even though it's going to be a full episode, it could do okay.
I'll make sure to fall off the wagon with 2 extra large buckets of popcorn.
Ah, there you go. What else you got?
With that? I'm excited. I'm actually excited about that news. So thanks for sharing that.
You are welcome.
We talked a little bit previously about DCEU's Birds of Prey. That's kind of on the docket of things to come.
That's the Margot Robbie's...
Yep, where we've got Harley Quinn, Black Canary.
Yeah, Harley Quinn. Yep.
So, with that, you know, we know we've got some Birds of Prey stuff. We know we've got a female-led, like, buddy film, if you will, team movie. But the villain has been cast. Black Mask, apparently. I didn't know nothing about any of the Canary stuff at all whatsoever. The Birds of Prey and all that kind of thing. But I do know a little something about the guy that's been cast. Ewan McGregor.
Ah, good old Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, well, since, you know, he's looking for work given that the Obi-Wan movie's been put on hold.
Right.
But, yeah, so he's going to be starring as the Black Mask, who's going to be the film's villain. He's going to face off against the Super Femme team, which is huge, especially after they got James Gunn over on the DC side of things. So DCEU's getting some names, getting some clout. If they could get some overall cohesion and direction, things would look pretty good for them. But
looking at you, Jeff Johns, looking at you.
Yeah. But so Black Mask, I guess he's been known to tangle with Batman, and so he's going to be the big shot bad guy here. I like Ewan McGregor quite a bit. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything that I didn't like him in. I
didn't care for Moulin Rouge.
I loved Moulin Rouge.
I didn't care for that movie. I think he was fine in it, but I didn't care for the movie. I'm not a Nicole Kidman fan at all.
That, if she would have disappeared and been replaced with, a cutout of Nicole Kidman, that would have been better, but I liked it. It was all right.
Yeah. Baz Luhrmann's not my bag. That's just all I can say. He's not for me. Okay, I'll tell you something that is for me. Even though this is probably not going to be geared towards me, it's probably something I'm going to watch and definitely watch with my boys. There's a new Netflix show coming up called Motown Magic. And it's basically about this. It's an animated series, but it's basically like this little kid who gets some sort of, as you can imagine, a magical paintbrush called the Masterpiece. But basically he's going to use it to create some art, but each episode is going to basically feature Berry Gordy Jr.'s Motown music. So each episode is going to have like a kind of a different song, I guess. It's going to be performed by the cast. I saw a little video of this amazing boy singing the Jackson 5's ABC, and like he sounds amazingly like Michael Jackson at that age. For me, like, this looks like, I don't know, this looks like something that could have been on Disney Junior with some of the animation. But the cool thing is that this is going to feature Motown music. And I have a special place in my heart for that music. Like, it's feel good. It makes you want to dance. It's music that I think most people know, whether or not they listen to it a ton, but like it's just part of pop culture. It's just been around and it's influenced so many artists and been in so many things that I'm going to watch this with my kids. I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah, Motown's never really been my thing, though there have been some artists that I've liked that were heavily influenced by Motown, Prince specifically. But Motown itself, I just never, not my style of stuff. So this is definitely going to be a pass for me, but
I'm all on this thing. And I also look at it as like, it's a good way to introduce my boys to some really classic, good music. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with, wanting to see my boys, bopping around, singing a little Smokey Robinson, little Michael Jackson, little Jackson 5, stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's great. And I definitely get that part of it. For example, just starting to listen to some Queen tunes, and Morgana's, like, the question that I had was, do you want to listen to some of my regular music or do you want to listen to Queen again? And it's Queen every time now. And, and with my older daughter, she ended up loving Kiss and, a little bit different speed, but just some classic stuff, some stuff that's been around for a long time. And to see my daughters really enjoy that, I get that appeal. Motown just isn't it for me, but that's not to say the other genres of music that are classic in nature, those I definitely grab onto if they align with what I kind of grew up with, or new stuff that either of my daughters finds,
Yeah, absolutely.
Culture is never a bad thing. This is just not the culture that I appreciate much. I just didn't really like the music, but there you go.
To each his own. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have for Rebel Intelligence. Did you have anything else?
No. I will. I guess take my foot off the Bothan's neck and let him run away for another week.
Wait. We let one live?
I've been letting one go back to scare the rest.
Man, apparently it's not working because they keep coming towards us every week after week.
Well, that's how we get the intelligence.
Okay, all right, Stu. Well, if we're done with Rebel Intelligence, we'll just move on. Every week we have a conversation. We ask a question to our super friends, and last week we were talking about the good old Halloween. Woo! And I came up with a question that I didn't even bother to really put out on social media because I liked your question so much better.
Yeah.
And so your question basically was like, what do you do that is nerdy for Halloween? Do you have, something that you do, something that you always try to, I don't know, watch or go to, or a party or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we put that out there and asked our super friends if there was something that they did that was really, really nerdy. And we got a couple answers, so we're going to go over where we always start. We're going to start over on the good old emails. We're going to start with Peter Christensen. He says, "Dear nerds, I vote that that for your next milestone, you edit together all the Bothan killing bits."
Okay. I'm going to commit Spencer to do that.
Yeah, I mean... We'll
How about
see.
some highlights?
Maybe a few highlights, because I'll tell you, the Punch-Its got a little long in the tooth during editing, and I'd listened to that thing a lot of times. And killing the Bothans, sometimes it's a little longer than the Punch-Its, and it could be like a 15-minute bit. So
it could be a psychic episode.
A full psychic, Bothans. Just killing Bothans. I love it.
5 hours
He
long.
says, he goes on to say, "Fun McRib fact. Economists have proposed that the McRib only comes back when pork prices are low. One of my favorite funny videos took a Lane Bryant commercial where a thick lady was sexily getting ready for a date, and near the end, when she checks out her phone, they replace a text from her boyfriend with, 'McRib is back.'" Okay. He says, "If you make your own McRib, you have to strip the meat off the rib and mold it into a rib-shaped patty." That is funny. That is funny. Because then it wouldn't be a ribless rib-shaped patty. It would be a ribbed rib-shaped patty.
I'll just get out my rib-shaped Jell-O molds.
Well, of course. You've got those, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. He says, "A funny Halloween TV memory was on the original Roseanne TV show. They decorated their house, and when they opened the door, they had their young son mouth the words, 'Welcome to the Connor House of Horror,' while a deep, scary voice said those words. The contrast between the voice and the kid cracked me up."
Yeah, I remember that.
I also had a sweet Ninja Turtle costume that my mom made for me. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
No, I remember that episode. That was pretty good.
I remember that episode too, strangely enough. Or at least I remember that
moment.
That moment, yeah. Yeah, well, thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. Uh-huh. We have another email. This is actually my brother-in-law, Eric Gifford. He says, okay, buckle up a little bit here.
Okay.
He says, "Hey guys, something's come up a couple of times on recent episodes and it's been on my mind. I can't hold back any longer. I must come to the defense of Hulk, the 2003 film comic book adaptation directed by Ang Lee. I understand what most fans want in comic book adaptation, and that this didn't deliver the slurry of mindless fist-pounding that was expected or hoped for. I get it. Unfortunately, the fans didn't realize they got something much better. As far as I can tell on my read on the Hulk, and I'm not a comic book reader, so this is based on more of a layman's knowledge, this movie provides the truest, most human representation of the character in that it really portrays the conflict within. While well acted by Mark Ruffalo, the MCU's choice on the Hulk back about 10 years ago was to pay lip service to the inner conflict, all the while really having Bruce Banner just give us a wink and then get down to the business of smashing things. I get why people like that, I really do, but Ang Lee's 2003 film took the character more seriously, and for me, in a more interesting movie, all the better for breaking from the comic book formula. Let's face it, with Ang Lee directing, this was his follow-up to the superb Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Eric Bana and Jennifer Connelly starring, this movie got better than it deserved. And to top it all off, it is still the only large-scale comic book movie to make a decent stab at actually bringing the comic panel format to the screen in an innovative and visually interesting way. Plus, 2003 is still relatively early in the modern era of digital visual effects, and the Hulk benefits from that. Rather than the overabundance of digital details muddying the visuals in every corner, the Hulk himself is really the only addition. Each frame is simpler, giving a feeling of being grounded in reality. Okay, just had to get that off my chest. Carry on.
Okay, I have a few things to say. First of all, I actually like the Hulk movies, both of them prior to the Avengers stuff. But I'm under no delusions that it was a masterpiece by any means. First of all, we appreciate societally the Hulk as the superhero. The Hulk bashes things, he breaks things, he smashes things, he jumps around, he wears purple shorts. We don't have many Bruce Banner movies. None.
True.
So, I mean, and having the smart guy there is great, but the superhero himself is, a fantastic idea in and of itself. So we appreciate the Hulk. We want the Hulk. The Hulk is the superhero. Bruce Banner is really the alter ego in all this and not the other way around. Bruce Banner is the justification for the creation of the character. But that being said, while there were some cinematographic? I don't think that's a word. There were some elements that the email just read describes, and while I can appreciate those, for me, it's not great acting. It's not a great story itself. The elements may have been spot on, and I'm sorry that I missed them because I didn't really catch them. But if they are there as prescribed, then great. But if it's just not a good movie, then it's just not a good movie, regardless of whether it has accuracy in the details. I'm not a comic book based superhero lover. The movies are usually my original introduction to the characters. I did watch the Hulk show as a kid, but so the accuracy of anything really doesn't even speak to me or matter much at all. So I just don't think it was a great movie, though I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both of them with, the two different Hulks.
I guess the thing to also remember, and you have to kind of keep this because we don't see it a lot in the current MCU movies, is that really the character of the Hulk and Bruce Banner is really that dynamic of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
Sure.
And we don't get that a lot in the MCU
That's
movies.
fair.
I mean, we don't. And even in the early MCU movie, the Edward Norton, and the Incredible Hulk, we got that a little bit more than we do with the Mark Ruffalo stuff. But thinking back, we do get a lot more of that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of balance in the Ang Lee Hulk. I unfortunately didn't care for the movie back then as much. I mean, I've got it on DVD. I bought it because I was like, ooh, it's a Hulk movie. I want to watch it. And I remember seeing it in the theater once maybe, and I was kind of like, yeah, just because I was so excited to see the Hulk on film in that way. But on repeat watchings, I don't think it holds up. But there is some interesting points that Eric does make, though, about some of the cinematography and some of the choices made. And that, he says, if you look at it for 2003, what we did get was a lot better than probably some of the other stuff around that time. And I get that. Like, that does make sense if you have to look at it from where we were at in 2003. Story-wise, though, it just wasn't a strong story for me. And I think that's what hurt. Like, you go to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was an amazing film.
Yes.
The cinematography was amazing, but it wasn't the cinematography that really pulled you in. It was an amazing story too. Like, there was, even though it was a foreign film, like, amazing visuals, but amazing story, and it really drew you in.
And it had some fantasy to it. I mean, overall, it was a more cohesive picture. No pun intended there. I love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I've watched it many times since. And, that's not to say if you go to a movie and you are amazed and stunned by the cinematography and that really does something for you in a movie, then there's absolutely nothing wrong or anything that I would disagree with your enjoyment of a film for those elements. And if they exist there, then great. And if that's what you appreciate, then that's a better movie for you. And that's fantastic. For me, it's really about the whole picture. If it doesn't have good cinematography, but the story is great, it's going to be lacking there. If the cinematography is great and the acting doesn't really do it, or the story sucks, then I'm still missing that there. It's got to kind of all come together in a holistic, cohesive mix for it to be a success for me. So that's my only beef with the movie. Even though I did like both Hulks, I do think they're both above average. They were definitely not blockbuster breakout films for me.
Yeah. Let's move over to Facebook. We had a response from Caleb Albers.
Of course.
Followed up by a response to his response.
Followed up by a response to his response to the first response. Right.
Basically, he's trying to lay out the fact that he didn't think I gave his 12-minute voicemail a thorough enough recap, or maybe a correct enough recap. So basically, here's what I'm going to do. Super Friends, go to Facebook, facebook.com/FordofNerd, and you can look at his answer, his thing that he said last week that he would do. And I'm just going to get to where he actually answers this week's question. He says, I have no Halloween tradition, but I've taken on my wife's of watching Hocus Pocus on Hallows Eve. He says, love the show. Love the show. Next time you're getting the novel. Can't have mix-up like this on my watch. Okay, well, you can go read it to see the rest of the novel. So, Hocus Pocus. I don't really remember much of that movie, but I know that like my wife and her sister watched it last weekend because apparently it's like the 25th anniversary of that movie. I don't know. Like for me, that movie just doesn't come to mind when I think of Halloween. I get it. It's like a Halloween movie, and I think it's based around witches and whatnot. But for me, man, it's like Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Like that's what I think of. Nightmare Before Christmas also I know gets kind of, but just Hocus Pocus. Have you seen Hocus Pocus, Stu?
I do, and I actually do think of it as a pretty traditional Halloween movie. Definitely costume, witches, that kind of stuff. It fits in line with a lot of other Halloween movies that are considered traditional as well. I think it's a funny movie. Morgana loves it and has seen it many times with her mom, and me a couple times as well. So I like it. I think it's cheesy. It's funny. It's nothing to be taken seriously, but it's definitely one of those.
I find that most people that watch it, and this isn't me making any sort of social commentary. I'm just saying that most people that I find that watch this movie and like really love it and like want to watch it over and over and over again are female. I don't know why. Krypton.
I'm just saying. No.
I'm just saying I don't meet a lot of guys that say I want to watch Hocus Pocus on Halloween.
I've never said those words. I will say that. I've never gotten, you know what? God, I really need to watch Hocus Pocus again.
You know what this Halloween season needs? Hocus Pocus. More Hocus Pocus.
But usually, and I don't say that about anything really, though. There are a few movies that I want to deliberately rewatch. But anytime it's brought up by anyone that I might potentially be watching it with, absolutely. If Ellie wanted to watch it, I'd be down 100%. Morgana wants to watch it again, I'm down 100%.
It's like when I was in college and I'd go over to girls' apartments. For some reason, every girls' apartment I went to had the movie Coyote Ugly. However, no guy's apartment I ever went to had the movie Coyote Ugly.
Okay.
I can't explain it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I'm just saying. Kind of fits into that same category. I just, maybe a movie that appeals to the certain fairer sex better than, the lesser sex. I don't know. It's a thing. Let's move on. We got a voicemail. From Paul Calicote.
Hey! Hi, Paul.
And let's give it a listen.
Hello, Fortress of Nerditude. What's up, Stu? What's up, Spencer? Calling in for the nerdy Halloween thing. I don't know if it's really nerdy, but it's a tradition that I do. I've been doing it for about 7 or 8 years. I watch 4 Bruce Campbell movies. Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and Bubba Hotep. I've been watching those movies every Halloween season for about 7 or 8 years. Just anytime during the month, I put them on and I give them a watch. I'm not really sure how nerdy that is. It's kind of nerdy, but it's also like a little calico tradition. Anyway, I was just calling in for that. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. Else time.
All right, Paul. I think that anytime you watch a Bruce Campbell movie, that definitely falls into the nerdy category because Bruce Campbell is like the nerdy actor for nerdiness. I don't know. Like he's just...
That is a unanimous Fortress of Nerditude declaration right there.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta love Bruce Campbell.
And the Army of Darkness films to include, or I'm sorry, the Evil Dead movies to include Army of Darkness definitely fit in that. That's actually pretty boss. Bubba Hotep, man, that is like every other time I watch that, I love it. Every other time I watch that, I hate it. And I kind of think that's exactly what it's meant to do.
I've never seen that movie.
Well, you should watch it on your own, away from other people.
Really?
It's very campy. It's very cheesy. It's very Bruce Campbell, though. But yeah, like I said, every other time I watch it, I can find enough humor in it and appreciation for it to enjoy it. But then if the next time I try to watch it, it's just like, oh, why am I here?
That was kind of like Austin Powers for me. Like if I'm in the right mood, an Austin Powers movie like would hit me and I find it really funny. And then other times I watch it, I'm like, this is dumb. This is stupid.
Yeah, I like those. All right.
But I think watching something with the chin in it is always a good thing.
It's very S-Mart.
Yes, very S-Mart. I love the fact that like Army of Darkness is super, super quotable.
It is. The funny thing is, I mean, like all of the Evil Dead stuff is, I couldn't remember a single quote from Bubba Hotep.
Really?
Yep.
It's too bad. Stu? Super friends are out there. Super friends are listening. Super friends are telling their friends about the podcast. But how can they help us out this week?
Well, the one thing they shouldn't do is go to the App Exchange because nothing about this podcast exists on the App Exchange. But
I looked for it. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah. But on iTunes, however, we are there and you can rate us there. And you can give us 5 stars there. I mean, they're all there. Why would you choose any less? Then it's uneven. It doesn't work visually. It's just horrible. But you give 5 stars, all 5 stars light up. It's nice. It's fantastic. Gives us a feel-good feeling. Gets our name out there, recognition. The more we get, the more likely we are to get on some lists. And, maybe that's close, maybe it's not, but it spreads the word, and we definitely appreciate it. Leave some comments if you like. And as you mentioned, people are telling their friends, keep doing that. I would say that's just as important, if not more. The more listeners we get, regardless of where they come from, whether they're from ratings or not, I think that's a beautiful thing, and we get more discussion, more feedback from viewers. Did I say viewers? Are people watching us right now? I'm a little creeped out by that.
We do have a YouTube. Of course, it's just our logo.
Yeah, but what they don't see in the logo is that's us. Really, you'd have to microscopically peer into that. Enhance.
It's like one of those things in the mall. If you stare at it long enough, then you look at a white wall, they're going to see our faces.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
so you should put up the logo in all your local malls, Super Friends.
That's a good idea.
I know. Suddenly people will be like, what?
What is this Fortress of Nerditude thing I see all over the malls of America?
Yep. Well, unfortunately, I'm done increasing our listenership by dating other people. So Ellie is the last one.
Interestingly enough, we have had someone listen to us 2 weeks in a row from Thailand. Are you dating anyone in Thailand?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, who knows what happens on that plane when I get on board?
Anyway, it's interesting. 2 weeks in a row.
Maybe they're just routed through. Maybe it's just Comcast like they do with mine. I'm routed through Lehi, Utah. Maybe it's just someone else in like New York routed through Thailand.
Or maybe someone's using a VPN or something. Who knows? But I saw, I was like, hey, Thailand. I'm like, we've never had anyone
Maybe it's
over
Mr.
in Thailand yet.
Nodalpats. Maybe he's in Thailand right now.
Maybe we should reach out to Mr. Nodalpats and see if that's where he's at.
I don't believe in him, but sure.
It's a good question. All right, Stu. So earlier you were mentioning that BlizzCon happened this weekend. So tell me what happened with BlizzCon. Like, what's going on? What's the news?
Well, first of all, for those who may not be familiar, BlizzCon is a annual convention that's hosted by Blizzard in Anaheim, California. And it's to celebrate the Blizzard Entertainment suite of games, such as World of Warcraft, Diablo, the Warcraft series, StarCraft series, Overwatch, all those things. And it has become a huge, phenomenal event every year. They have tons of gaming tournaments. So if you're into like Warcraft or StarCraft is probably the big one that they do tournaments, and Overwatch these days now too. They have massive tournaments, and they have like, I believe it's the annual finals occur right before that every year, and they also have like the World of Warcraft Arena Championships. So it's become as big as any other major con for sure. It definitely gets as much press. It's got a lot of people involved, and it's very difficult to get tickets if you're trying to buy them online. But fortunately,
that's the hot ticket.
That is the hot ticket. But you can actually buy virtual tickets so that you can see all their panels. You get all the virtual swag in the games if you get that. So you can still take part in it even if you can't be there in person. So anyway, that is BlizzCon. So I'm hesitant to, overly inform regarding World of Warcraft because I know we focus on that a little bit. But BlizzCon, I think, is a wide enough spread of games and entertainment that, I think there's at least enough appeal that if you're curious or you play any Blizzard games, that there's definitely some news to be had from that. So I kind of wanted to focus on that a little bit. One of the biggest things that I think is important about this, I don't know any other adjective to really describe this, but anyone
super de-duper.
Anyone who has a the Battle.net app, which is where you launch World of Warcraft, Diablo, all that kind of stuff, on PC, specifically on PC, through November 18th. So by the time our super friends hear this, they will still have time. Even if you don't really have anything, go to Blizzard.com, WorldOfWarcraft.com, wherever you want to go to get the Battle.net app. You can get Destiny 2 on PC for absolutely free. This is not some swanky little third tier title that people aren't playing. This is Destiny 2, and it's a big game. And it's a brilliant game, in my opinion. And they have a new expansion, which I think this probably has a lot of lead into to get people to play the original Destiny 2 and then get the new expansion. But it's a AAA title. So it's absolutely free. And they did this for BlizzCon, and it's going through November 18th. Get that crap. Even if you're not sure if you're ever going to play it, if there's a remote chance that you might, or you have friends that are playing it.
It's a free AAA game.
Yeah, do it. Go do this.
How much Destiny 2 did you play?
I would say I played Destiny 2. I played Destiny 2 on Xbox and PS4. I'd say I've put in, not even being a serious player, probably put in like 60 hours, easy.
I think I leveled up all 3 characters to max level. And then,
that's about what I did.
And then I just kind of stopped, which in Destiny 1, then I went on and did like a whole bunch of raiding and whatnot. But for some reason, I didn't do it for Destiny 2.
Yeah, so they one of the things about Destiny 2 is it has been called out as having a lack of content. I personally love the storyline, but yeah, once you beat it, you're kind of done.
Yeah, kind of done.
This new expansion, though, from all reviews that I've seen, has really turned Destiny around. And as great as some of the Destiny 1 content was, Forsaken is getting reviews up the wazoo. It is popular. It fixes a lot of stuff. It makes the game extremely accessible and playable for a lot of people. They redid some of the combat system. And so it's just, apparently it makes it even that much better. So my idea here is that if I do get some time to kind of dive into some stuff and Ellie and I aren't playing WoW or whatever, I may give it a spin and see about maybe getting involved in Forsaken. I would have to start over for PC, but I'm okay doing that. I think the gameplay is fun. So,
and it's free, so why not take advantage of that?
Right. This the segment of the podcast has not been brought to you by Blizzard, but anyone from Blizzard listening, if you want to kick us back a few bucks, thanks.
Right.
For telling people about the free thing that are now going to hammer your servers to download.
Yeah, because all the listeners and the super friends are going to hammer servers.
Yeah, for sure. Because, we're that big. Have you ever seen or heard of a game called Warcraft 3?
Oh, have I? And this is actually something that I can join in on this conversation in depth.
Do you want to take the lead on this?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I don't want to say that I know all the details, but I definitely want to jump in. So you start, and then I'll overrun you. Yeah.
Warcraft 3
is going to be the best thing ever. I'm just saying this right now. I told you I was going to overrun you, did I not? So Warcraft 3 is like one of my favorite RTS games of all time. I actually have it installed on my work laptop still. I've got my original disc for Chaos Theory and the Frozen Throne, and I just love it. And I also love the fact that they took so much of the lore of Warcraft 3 and they put it into World of Warcraft. That's why I loved a lot of the early World of Warcraft stuff.
I mean, a couple of the expansions directly focused on some of the storylines brought through from Warcraft 3.
Yes, which is why the Wrath of the Lich King is absolutely my favorite expansion. It's just the lore there was just, it hit me in all the right spots. So I've been saying for years,
it's a shame you missed Legion, man.
I've been saying for years, I want Warcraft 3 redone. I want it to look better. I want to be able to have like the online play. And then we talked a little while ago about how all of a sudden there was a new tournament for Warcraft 3, and I got my hopes up, that meaning something's going to happen. And of course, they announced during BlizzCon that Warcraft 3 is coming back, but it's being called a Warcraft 3 Reforged. It's basically an HD remaster, but they've taken all the old dialogue, all the old like cute, kind of silly dialogue that made it so beloved. They're keeping that, but they've redone the graphics engine. They've redone all the artwork. They've made it so it looks a lot better, so it looks current. But yet it's still the same game. They're bringing back the map editor that was a big hit. It's going to have all the BattleNet support. And then here's the cool thing, and this is what I love so much. So one of the dungeons in World of Warcraft was called the Calling of Stratholme. And it was a very important dungeon because you really see the moment when Arthas makes the turn from good to evil, where he finally crosses the line that's eventually going to take him to where he's going to go. And they are redoing this. They're putting this as it's a mission in Warcraft 3 Reforged, but apparently because it was there originally anyway, but they're actually changing the map so that the map is actually going to match up with the kind of the way they did the map for the dungeon in WoW.
Nice.
And I think that's a really kind of a cool like little quality of life change, because it's going to be very similar. This game is going to be big. This game is something that I'm pre-ordering. This is going to be something I'm going to play the crap out of. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about on this? I know I just took it and ran.
Well, since you brought it up, Warcraft 3, yada, yada. The only other thing I would note is that, as you mentioned, there was the was it the tournament prior?
Yeah.
There's a world editor, which was one of the best things about Warcraft 3, and that you could make your own maps in a very rich RTS game format, and it's going to have full integration into BattleNet. So, I mean, the multiplayer stuff should be full strength. I would be surprised if this doesn't just completely blow up into a modern game again. Like, the people are playing a lot.
I think it's going to.
I'm stoked. I've tried to play Warcraft 3 a couple years ago, and I don't try to be a snob, and I love gameplay, but when you have a monitor that has resolutions the size nobody thought of when this game came out,
right,
it's difficult to really be able to enjoy the experience.
And it plays clunky.
Yeah, this changes that. I mean, this is like, hello, I'm going to be diving into this full speed ahead. I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't add another expansion to this, honestly.
I won't be surprised either. I mean, I know a lot of fans want to see a Warcraft 4. I know that's out there, but man, this to me like hits all the right buttons. This is better than if they would have announced a Warcraft 4. Honestly,
Warcraft 4. The problem with that is you're limiting content for WoW to grow from. Now that they've moved from Warcraft 3 to WoW, WoW is a dynamic, ever-growing, persistent online world. it would be very difficult to pull a segment out of that into an RTS again. It would be better if they just introduced a new RTS altogether, I think.
Right. And they may do something, or they may do like a throwback where they go back even further in time and they could tell some other stories that, are outside of the World of Warcraft that could have, that would maybe have been mentioned or talked about somewhat. I mean, they could do whatever they really want to. It's Blizzard.
Well, you know what they could do? They could make a wholly new Warcraft RTS and put it on mobile.
They could.
I mean, wouldn't that be crazy?
I mean, yeah, I'll stick with Warcraft 3.
Well, okay. Well, they did decide to do the mobile thing, but with Diablo. This is probably the most controversial bit of all the things that they announced. I can see being the head of Blizzard Entertainment's Diablo division and saying, you know what? I want to put a full-fledged Diablo game and put it on a mobile device so that there's a different platform to play it on. It's going to have a fully rich story. It's not going to, sacrifice anything for being on a mobile device because of the technology these days. So they did that. Unfortunately, this has ticked off a lot of people.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that the last day or so.
Which, to me, and I mean, people feel there's a lot of things that people are really ticked off about. The biggest thing I think that I'm able to pull from this, and I don't know, maybe you've pulled something different from this, but like a lot of people are expecting basically a Diablo 4 to come out. Diablo 3's been around forever,
right?
Comparatively speaking,
sure.
Diablo 3 did not grab people the way that they had expected. There are a lot of quality of life improvements. The game has definitely improved since it came out. I think a lot of the hate that the game came out with originally, like the Real Money Auction House, that's been done away with. And I think they've done a good job of repairing it over time. But it is not, by most people's standards that have played both games, anything near as epic as Diablo 2. And I would agree with that as much as I love Diablo 3. Diablo 2 is dated. I don't necessarily like playing dated games, as already established. But I think Diablo 3 is really solid these days, and it's really fun. But, a new chapter in that, I definitely think is in line. But most people don't think that should be mobile, and that it should be, fully fledged new Diablo game, and let's get this party started all over again.
So I've never played a Diablo game.
Not yet.
I've had friends that have told me I've got to play Diablo 3.
You still need to come over, maybe when Ellie visits.
Maybe. We can all play Diablo 3 together. Is that a thing? Could we all do that?
That is a thing that could happen.
Okay. I don't want to be like, we could all do this. And you're like, it's a one-player game.
It kind of is on the Switch, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll take turns. Okay, so that's my thing, right? I know Diablo 3 just came to the Switch, and I know a lot of people are excited about that, the people that are big Diablo fans. So I think I got a lot of the same thing you were saying, that I think people are upset because they were expecting a Diablo 4. I also read something that some people are a little upset because it seems like Blizzard has a way of saying, like, here's a popular game or a popular game genre. We're going to find our way of doing it, and we're going to do it better than everyone else. And they feel like this is just like a port over to a mobile, and they're kind of partnering up with this other company, and they're kind of not just finding a way to, to do kind of their thing, right? I mean, World of Warcraft wasn't the first MMORPG. There'd been others.
Yep.
EverQuest was a big thing, and then World of Warcraft came out, and who plays EverQuest anymore? I mean, it's there, but
there are 13 people that still play that religiously. Don't you mock them.
And how many people are playing WoW?
15.
Yeah, so...
So here's... I did see that specifically, and here's my retort to that. First of all, this is not... The fallacy in that argument is that this is not them taking an existing game and making something new out of it. It's really just another sequel. There's been Diablo 2, there's been Diablo 3, there's been Warcraft 2 and 3. That Blizzard has made plenty of sequels.
Right.
And this is just, this is actually a prequel, but for all intents and purposes, a new iteration of the game, and they're just putting it on a different platform. So it's not that they're failing to do that. The other important point to make there, I think, is that this is another developer building this game. That frees up, that doesn't free up because, I mean, that implies it's releasing them from something, but this still allows Blizzard to put whatever focus into Diablo they want without really distraction from those resources. So they could still very well be making a Diablo 4 game.
Right. And, okay, so here's something else interesting I saw. I heard, or I read somewhere, maybe earlier today, that Blizzard at the last second pulled an announcement of a Diablo 4. And that's been wildly reported today, all day. Then, like an hour ago, Blizzard says, no, we never had an announcement for Diablo 4. So there's kind of this, they've made some statements in the press trying to kind of backtrack, saying like, we're not sure why we're getting kind of all this hate for this thing, which we weren't expecting.
Yep.
And then people are saying, well, hey, we heard that, it was reported, blah, blah, blah. They were going to announce a Diablo 4, but then they canceled that idea at the last second. I know Kotaku was running that story earlier today. And then, and a few others, Eurogamer and whatnot. But now all of a sudden, Blizzard's saying as of like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, no, we never had that. So it's kind of like this whole thing, like, what's really going on here? We're getting a lot of smoke show around this issue.
I don't think that we are. I mean, Blizzard is dodgy in a very trademarked kind of way. When they are dodgy, they will just refuse to talk about it. That's that. They've never, in my experience, they've never lied directly about having something that they did or didn't, or saying something that they didn't have that they actually did. So I think if there was a Diablo 4, we would be getting a lot more neutral stance, avoiding the topic altogether. They're definitely in backspin about this whole mobile Diablo, and frankly, I'm a little stumped, but, fan expectations about things being what they are, it's almost like the fans are pissed off that they're not the ones that are calling the shots. I think it could be a fantastic game, and I'm actually probably going to try it. I especially because it's a whole new story, and I can play it on my tablet. And that makes it much more portable for me. I know I've got Switch, and I can play Diablo 3 there, but there are different environments where I play on a mobile device versus the Switch. I still play with Switch as if it were a console more than I do a mobile platform.
Yeah, me too.
But I'll still get to Diablo 3 on Switch as well. So
okay.
But I'm interested to see how this is going to shake out. I'm frankly almost as stumped as Blizzard is that there's this much backlash over it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played a Diablo game. So for me, I don't get what the hubbub is. I'm like, if you love the game and now there's a chance that it's going to come to mobile, even if Blizzard's not 100% behind doing it and they're, kind of letting someone else kind of take the reins, as long as the port is good, what do you care? Like, if that's your thing, like, play it there too.
Well, there's definitely a lack of, if someone else enjoys that, that's okay. From a lot of Blizzard fans, it's pretty much
if you don't
cater
love
to your
it,
own stuff, and that's
yeah.
You're wrong. And I mean, Blizzard fans are the worst at that. And yes, I'm calling you all out. If you're a Blizzard fan and you're on that bandwagon, you are the worst. Just saying. Unless you're a super friend, and I love you.
Yeah, of course. Then everything is roses. You're not an Overwatch fan, are you? You're not playing Overwatch much?
Nope, that's the one Blizzard game I've tried, man. I just can't get into Overwatch.
I play Overwatch some. I really enjoy playing it with people I know, friends. Apparently, they announced a new character. The name is Elizabeth Caldonia Ash. I'm just going to go by Ash. It's a DPS class. She's a member of the Deadlock Gang. Basically, this is the 29th playable character for Overwatch. It's got some cool abilities. It's got a robot companion that kind of looks kind of cool that does some stuff. The artwork on this looks amazing. I love all the artwork and all the things they're doing visually in Overwatch. I'm a little excited about a new character. I like seeing new characters and trying them out and then finding out that I suck with them and going back to what I know, which is not a lot because I think suck pretty much overall with Overwatch. But But yeah, it was kind of cool. So I know Overwatch is huge, and they got the Overwatch leagues and tournaments and blah blah blah, all these things going on. But a new DPS class is always interesting for those that enjoy the first person shooter by Blizzard.
Well, yay! No, I actually I have watched a lot of the cinematics for Overwatch, and those are entertaining. And I love the social hype that comes around with Overwatch. And I think even if I don't play it, I think it's definitely a very classic Blizzard production. It's very polished, very tight. I love that they're still producing for this, and it always amazes me the stuff that Blizzard does. Like with Diablo 3, even Diablo 2, they still have servers for that up. These are people that paid one time for a game and never have to pay a subscription, and they're still getting tons of content after the initial purchase. Lots of characters have been added to Overwatch. It's definitely something to behold, and I'm all for the people that do love Overwatch, and I've watched people play Overwatch, and I have fun doing that. It's just not my style of game, and I'm, that's all.
Yep. No.
So good for them. Good stuff. So Warcraft, World of Warcraft specifically, Battle for Azeroth came out a few months ago.
Yep.
Time just keeps passing by. So now they're getting ready to start pumping out the content for expansions to that expansion, if you will. What is affectionately called 8.1, Terror of Darkshore, is going to be the next major update to World of Warcraft. We see, if you've seen the original cinematic or have played through the events leading up to Battle for Azeroth, we see that Sylvanas has gone off the deep end. The Tree of Life has been torched, and Malfurion has gone off into hiding somewhere or whatever. And basically this just reintroduces him as being really mad and about to kick some Horde butt. So that's kind of exciting. Another thing that's going to happen that I think is the most telling thing about 8.1 is that Horde is going to be able to choose allegiance to either Sylvanas or Saurfang.
Wow, that's kind of interesting.
So I don't know many details of this. I haven't really paid as much attention as I could be. I love, much like movies, I love to kind of be surprised by some of the changes when they come out with the expansions. I never did the practice raids on the test realms.
Right. No, because
I never do the beta testing stuff. I want it to be fresh when I go through it the first time.
Yep.
I do have my reps all earned for two of the new allied races that are going to be coming out are the Kultirans and the Zandalari Trolls. I have a Horde and Alliance character that do now finally, because I haven't been playing a lot. They do have their reps ready to go, so when 8.1 drops, I can hopefully get those, as well as get Pathfinding, which is the World of Warcraft mechanic now that you do a lot of quests and you see the whole area and stuff, and then you can earn flying.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that stuff, I'm excited for Terror of Darkshore. I'm excited for there to be new content. I do think that's the one area the Battle for Azeroth was lacking in, that once you hit endgame, there's not a whole lot to do except a ton of world quests. Once you've done the raids, the raid itself doesn't feel very eventful. So, I mean, I just think there could have been more, but it looks like we're definitely going to get some very important more in 8.1. And then also there's a new cinematic for Lost Honor. If you haven't seen that yet, if you don't even play World of Warcraft, watch the cinematics. They're glorious. I wish they made movies this way. Lost Honor is brilliant. Basically telling about Anduin. So Saurfang was captured at the beginning of all this. King Anduin is basically saying, yeah, I should be able to take out Sylvanas, but I can't alone. And then he walks out and leaves the cage door open, and that brings Saurfang back into the mix. So it'll be interesting to see what this Horde Civil War is going to do. Personally, I like the idea of it. I'm Team Sylvanas all the way. Sylvanas is hugely unpopular right now, which I would think people would be like super evil, like, yeah, evil, 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 evil. But no. So Sylvanas is... I think it's a given that Sylvanas is going to go away as the war chief, but I'm excited to play through this and see what happens.
I really need to like get to 120. I'm like almost at 119, and then I just haven't played like in over a month now.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
It's just been, life has been busy and things going on, but I do want to see the end game content.
Yeah, it's worth doing, especially if you're playing casually and you're not going to overdo it from anything simply from not having the time.
Right.
Another really important thing for World of Warcraft, however, is World of Warcraft Vanilla Classic server.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that a little while ago.
Yep. So the date for that, it's going to be summer 2019. That's also getting a lot of hullabaloo and people upset in that it's not going to be the original boot up the game back when World of Warcraft was released version of World of Warcraft. It's going to be all the content. So the world's going to exist. The monsters are going to exist. It's going to have some tiered progression through the raids. It's a little different, but it's going to have all the new quality of life stuff. So if you're a level 60 character, or is it level 50? Level 60 character. Oh my gosh, I feel stupid now.
Yep, level 60.
That has the talents now, you're going to have that same level 60 character experience. It's not going to be the original talent trees. It's none of that stuff. And it's going to have like the map as it exists now. Stupid little details about like that. People are upset about that. You'll be able to use add-ons and things. I'm just excited to see that they're kind of tapping into the nostalgia, understanding that players do want that classic experience. My risk identification here that I see, I've seen a lot of this with EverQuest, where they have progression servers that start up, or classic nostalgia servers that start up. People get tired of that content. World of Warcraft Vanilla is supposedly always going to be vanilla. It's never going to expand into Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. So, I mean, once you've maxed all that max content, what do you have to do except do all that stuff all over again? Raise a new character and do all that over again. That only goes for so long, in my opinion. EverQuest kind of caught on to that, and they started doing like time-delayed progression servers where you start in Classic for 3 months, but then after 3 months, they release the next expansion's content, and they just kind of keep it moving forward like that. That has been a much more solid experience for me, because once I've seen all the raid content, I've done all the stuff, I have a chance to potentially progress because I didn't have the chance back then, or see that content all over again. I'm really hoping that they pick up on that and expand vanilla, or at least come out with a new server that does that.
If they were to do that and they were to let us go to Northrend and go and play the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, like, I could probably just go back and do that and then be like, yeah, and I'm good. I mean, that was my expansion. Like, for me, that was my Empire Strikes Back. It was,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Planes of Power was the same thing for EverQuest. And so they actually released a Planes of Power capped progression server. So the game started Classic and then added the expansions just up to Planes of Power. And that experiment failed as well.
Wow. So
I hope they learned. They, monopolized on the idea from EverQuest. Hopefully they learned from their mistakes, but we'll see. But I'll play on it, I would like to play through the original content, but it's not going to be where I put my main time. So if I don't have a lot of time for WoW, it's not going to really see much play.
Right. I mean, I came in during the Wrath of the Lich King time, end of Burning Crusade, but I feel like you still got that vanilla WoW, or almost vanilla WoW feel, because a lot of that stuff was there. Like the world map hadn't been changed yet. Cataclysm hadn't sundered the map. There was a lot of that, but like, man, I don't want to go to the Barrens and just grind in the Barrens for a long time. I just don't.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I enjoyed EverQuest when I went through the original content and was kind of grinding through some of the stuff that I knew was going to take a lot of time. But it gave me a reason to kind of socialize again. And back when World of Warcraft came out, there was definitely more local socialization, forming groups to actually go do quests and stuff like that, not just dungeons. So we'll see what that social dynamic, how that benefits from this, if anything at all. And
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Stu, I want to ask you, what do you think our question of the week should be then to our super friends?
Well, we don't have that. And I was actually kind of agonizing about that because, yes, I think this is a lot of content and a lot of things to talk about. And I think it's fun to talk about this stuff, and it can be informative even to people that don't play the game. But I also, I don't want to leave a question hanging out there that someone that doesn't care about Blizzard games can't really answer or doesn't want to answer. I would say splitting this up into two potential outcomes would be the way to go. If you like Blizzard games, are you excited about any of this content and why? And if you're not a Blizzard person, then, gaming conventions in general, do you like them? Do you hate them? What do you take away from them? Has anything this year got your goat?
Well, for super friends, you heard it right there. If you like Blizzard, what was your favorite thing that was announced? What are you most looking forward to? But if not, gaming conventions, what did you like this year? What's got your attention? Let us know at all the usual places. That's going to be our email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/fortofnerd. We're on Twitter @fortofnerd, or you can get us on our voicemail, that good old Google voice, and that's 801-477-7687. And as you heard with Paul Calicote today, we play those. So go ahead and leave us a voicemail as well. Stu, I'm telling you, if I'm going to answer the question of the week, I'm going to say by far the thing I'm most excited for from BlizzCon is Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Hands down.
Hands down for me. It's the nostalgia, and I've been saying I want a good RTS game for a long time, and I haven't felt like I've seen one.
That's Warcraft 3 is
it's
today is the best that it's ever been. The RTS has ever been.
Bringing that back, oh yes, I am on board.
And what a lot of people don't even realize is like MOBA games, Dota 2, League of Legends, all of that spawned from Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
So the influence that Warcraft 3 has had on the gaming industry has been phenomenal. It was a solid game then. It's a solid game now. A little difficult to look at, but that's being fixed. So I expect to burn a lot of time in Warcraft 3 playing through that again.
Me too. Well, super friends, let us know. We're dying to hear from you, and we will read your answers next week. Stu, it's been a lot of fun. Once again, I'm always glad that we have a chance to sit down and do this.
Faux show.
And from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude, to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you.
Always.